Tonight, I want to talk to you about social resilience. Why? Because I believe that social resilience is essential for cities to survive in the future. Now, social resilience sounds a bit complicated, right? It's a long word, or actually it's two words. But to me, it's actually quite simple. All it is the capacity of people to create solutions together. Now, if I say solutions, we can assume that there's probably some sort of problem to begin with. Let me give you an example of one of those problems. A few years ago, I worked in a bar in the Netherlands, where I'm originally from, and a colleague of mine there, called Peter, went to Spain, to Catalonia, for research. I don't actually know what he went to do there, but I do remember one story that he told me. And that story was about a Dutch lecturer who went there to teach, and he bought a farm in the middle of nowhere. Now, this farm didn't have any electricity. So what he did is that he went to his neighbor and asked if he could hook up his farm to their electricity grid. As it turned out, to hook up these two farms was an incredibly expensive venture, because the electricity market is ruled by big companies that can drive up the price whenever they want, and they have a complete monopoly on what's happening. So instead of hooking up, he decided to build his own solar panel and use that. However, as time went on, he realized it would be way more efficient if more self-sufficient energy producers would start to work together. So an idea of a cooperative was born. After the Occupy movement and the Indignados movement in Spain, more and more people wanted to join this cooperative. So now they have 20,000 members who all co-invest and co-decide on how they spend their money and how they generate their electricity regionally and sustainably. Now, energy and fossil fuels is not the only problem that we face. Every day we hear about global warming, waste piles, hate crime, and armed conflict. And all these problems, they have a history, and they're so complex and they're so large that it's really hard to figure out how to solve them, where to start. We're sitting here, and it's so complicated, and we feel so small and powerless that instead of doing something, we decide to do nothing. Because what could we do, right? Now, at the same time, we are bombarded with messages. We have to be fitter, be prettier, be healthier, be smarter, be richer, be more famous, be more successful. And we have to keep up, we have to stay in touch and be a part and not miss out. But in the end, we always do. And that's what we try to solve. We want to be better, smarter, more successful, richer than the person who's sitting right next to you at the moment. And we try to solve that problem. And we forget about all those other problems. Now, I believe that it doesn't have to be that way. I believe that we are not powerless. Instead, we're powerful. And we can indeed change the world. But it has to start with looking your neighbor in the eye, and instead of wanting to be better than him, say, how can I be better with him? And what can we do together to create solutions? And to me, that is the core of social resilience. However, social resilience has two requirements. This is my nice drawing that I made for you today. We need to be reflective. We need to know what our strengths are and what our weaknesses are. We need to acknowledge those, and we have to be forgiving for ourselves of the mistakes that we make. Because only then are we able to recognize and acknowledge the strengths and weaknesses of others and forgive them their mistakes. And that leads me to point B, that all these people that are learning to be reflective need a space where they can work together and where they can be reflective together of their strengths and weaknesses and see how they can, improve together. And actually, for all, the management professionals in the room, that's the core of good teamwork. Because only if a team knows its strengths and weaknesses can they deliver proper work. And social resilience is actually nothing more than good teamwork, but with a very, very large team. This is especially the case if you look at cities. Cities, inherently are places where people are incredibly reliant on each other. You have so many people, tucked in this tiny space that have to work together because we all rely on each other's services every day. Just remember a few years ago when in Italy the garbage men decided to strike? We have to work together. And not only do we have to work together within the city, we also have to look at what's happening outside, because we're also very reliant on the services coming into the city. I mean, how could a city survive if we didn't have the food delivered from the country directly onto our doorstep? Now, you might say, I'm from Vienna, I get by just fine without looking anybody in the eye. And, I'm doing just fine. Now imagine something goes wrong, as it did in Italy, as it did in Spain, and as it is going wrong, actually, in a lot of places all over the world. This could happen in Vienna. Imagine a financial crisis hits this town. Food prices are skyrocketing because the big companies can decide whatever they want in terms of pricing when it comes to scarce goods. Imagine your U-Bahn tickets get really, really expensive because there's no money anymore for subsidies. And imagine you lose your job, and your next job only covers 2 months of work. Doesn't pay your rent, let alone your health insurance. Now, this is what actually happened in Spain, where now youth unemployment is at 55%. This is what happened in the States after 2007, where many middle-class Americans, like everybody here, ended up living in their holiday tents in the streets and encampments. And that is why it's important that we here in Vienna start working together now, that we stick together in times of no trouble, so that when it does come, we have already created all the solutions together. Now, why am I here telling you all this, not even finished with university, taking forever to finish my master thesis? Well, that's because I'm already trying to build that social resilience in this city. What I did is that I looked at my strengths and I looked at my weaknesses, and I knew that I could never make everybody reflective, right? I mean, that's your job. What I can do is create a space for everybody to come together and say, how can we be better with each other, and what solutions can we create together? Now, I have 3 projects that I'm running since this year here in Vienna, together with a bunch of other really awesome people. A few of them are also in the audience. Hooray, glad that you can make it and you could get a ticket. So these 3 projects are called Vienna Shares, Vienna Skill Smiths, and Étiquette, Mode mit Geschichte. Let me talk you through them. Vienna Shares came into existence last summer. What happened was I was together with a bunch of people and we wanted to do something. And we recognize these problems that we've been talking about all night. We've seen the waste piles, we've seen lack of community in the city, we've seen this hyper-consumption and everybody owning stuff that we don't always use and we don't always need, and everybody having skills that they cannot really do anything with because everything's already done for us. So we thought, okay, let's do something with that. Let's try to set up a neighborhood network. And then Frag nebenan was there. Let's try to share food better and do something about that overproduction and lack of distribution. And then we thought, shit, food sharing is already there. And all we could think of is, shit, we want to be better, we want to do something else. We want to be better than everybody else. And then we realized we don't have to be better than everybody else. We have to be better with everybody else. So what we did is we created a platform where all these organizations that are already here in Vienna can come together, increase their output, increase their impact in the city. So we organize events, we host a blog, we try to do whatever, and we try to be invited everywhere so we can talk about ourselves and about all these other cool people that are doing cool things, and we try to include them. We try to build a discourse about how can we live sustainably in the city, and we try to include everybody in that, in public space, in closer settings. And that's how we create these spaces for solutions, for everybody of us to come together and think about how can we change this problem that we face in the city. Now, my second project, Vienna Skill Smiths, only exists since 2 months. And it happened because Stefan and I, my business partner, we recognized the problem. We saw that education for adults is boring, it's top-down, it's expensive, and it's often not accessible. And we decided to take matters into our own hands. And we said we want to make learning fun again. We're going to start a school for everyone, by everyone, about everything. Because we feel that everybody has the right to decide what they want to learn and what's worth sharing. And we believe that everybody can become a teacher if we turn learning matters into something that is about passion and not about finding a job. And this way, we value and connect all these people through their different interests and different possibilities that we have. We value everything you know, and we want to bring that out into the world and create a platform where people can share this so that learning is fun again. Now, the last project is really, really new. And in fact, it hasn't even started yet. And what we do there, you know how in Vienna you have all these old grumpy ladies? And they always cut in line in the supermarkets, and they always look at you mean, and you always feel that you did something wrong. Well, I felt that it cannot be that way, right? Not every old lady can be mean, but I don't have a way to find out because I cannot meet them anywhere. And then on Facebook, long live my smartphone, for that matter, I saw a project from a friend from the Netherlands. It's called Vintage People. And what they do is they organize vintage markets together with elderly people. I thought, wow, that's great. We need this in Vienna so that I can get to know all these little bitches cutting in supermarkets. So what we did is we called up this guy because we thought, let's not try to compete with them. Let's try to be better together. And I know that I'm over time, but I'm going to talk anyway. And we said, hey, can we use your idea? Can we use this in Vienna where there's such a clear need for it? Because there's more and more elderly people, and they're less and less connected, and there's less and less space for us to connect the generations. And they said, sure, go ahead. So what we did is we got together some people, and we decided to give it a try, or we're actually in the process of trying this. And in this project, we bring together elderly people, fashion coaches, young people, create these vintage markets so that we can connect again through fashion. At the same time, learning that fashion and clothing is not a throwaway item. It's something that can last a lifetime, something that can have history, and something that can outlast us all. As you've seen, there's plenty of room in Vienna for improvement. And I believe that you all can contribute to that. Because imagine a financial crisis hits, and we don't end up homeless in the streets without food. Imagine global warming hits, but it doesn't affect us because we were prepared. And imagine living in Vienna and not hesitating to say hi to your neighbor in the hallway. Now, I'd like you all to think about your strengths and to look your neighbor in the eye and say, what solutions can we create together? And I really, really hope that I will see all of you right here next year spreading the word about your solutions. Thank you.